When you're feeling overwhelmed, making decisions is the hardest thing to do, but you still need to create. After a challenging week, I'm turning to one of my own older watercolor tutorials to avoid having to make any decisions and to get some emotional first aid. So whether you're having a good week or a bad week, like me, in this video I invite you to join me in painting a whimsical little bird, a gentle reminder that creativity can be a sanctuary during tough times. So let's find some peace in each brushstroke together. Let's get started. Hi everyone, Diane here. Welcome to my studio. We're back in France now and I'm just about discovering all the things that I'd forgotten I possessed. And it's been a bad week. We have had the absolute week from the back of beyond unbelievable, and I'll tell you a bit about it as we go along because I don't want to give you a great long story at the beginning. We want to get started on the painting, but just rest assured, listen on and you'll find out what happened. But we are all safe and sound, and so are all the animals and the garden and the house actually now. So let's start. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to paint a whimsical bird. This is not what I'm painting, by the way. I shouldn't have that there. What I was going to do actually, first of all, before I start on the paints, is I was just going to do this. You could call this a sketchbook flip through, except it's not in a sketchbook, right? These are just on separate pieces of Meaden paper. This is their 5x7, and you know, it makes a nice size for a single individual bird. So anyway, these are ones I have done recently, and I just thought I would give you, that's a flower, you are not a bird, a quick look at these, because when you get to the end of the video and you say to yourself, oh, I fancy painting a bird, you might not want to do the one that I just did, but you might want to do one of these. So go back, freeze frame, screenshot, print out if you can, or just set your iPad or your machine, your device up somehow, and you can just copy whatever it is, because these are all different. This one is a bit mad. I think I got the idea from the internet for that one. And yes, this one's a bit sad. This one's a bit overfed. This one's a bit unfinished. And here we go. We're getting towards the end now. But I just thought that might be useful for you if you wanted to do the freeze frame and paint thing. So we'll get that out of the way first of all. This one's been cut out. We've done some fussy cutting here for him. We did that earlier with our Build a Bird series, didn't we? So don't forget to take a look at the old stuff, because they're oldies but goodies, like me. Ha ha. So what are we going to do today? I'm going to follow one of my own tutorials, one from 3 years ago, which has been quite popular, not massively popular, but fairly popular. But I'm going to obviously do it differently, in different colours. So I've got my Meaden set of watercolours here. These are good. They are not professional quality. I don't think they claim that, but they are good. And they cost $18.95, I think, at the moment. They've gone up by $1 over the last 3 years, which isn't bad, is it? And I'm going to choose a few colours just more or less at random. We want a blue, a red, and a yellow. I haven't used them for a while. I'm going to squirt them into this palette here, which is a big studio palette from Meaden. And the reason for doing that is so that I can have a little dab in an individual space, but a nice big area. You can see that now, can't you? A nice big area for mixing in. It's a different way of managing your paint and your bear with me. What am I going to put with that blue? That's cobalt blue. What red goes with cobalt blue? Rose, probably. That's crimson. Put that back. I am kerfuffled at the moment, and you'll have to bear with me because kerfuffle is me. It's been a week of absolute horror. We got back to Orly Airport. That's rose red. From Cairo. Everything was fine at the airport, except we had a long queue. But we got through that in the end. This is lemon yellow. And everything we thought was going really well We got to our car was still there. That's always a good sign, we thought. But lo and behold, it had been broken into. Yes, in Orly Airport, we paid €600 for the time that we parked it there so that it would be safe, and it wasn't. That was not funny. That was not funny at all. Everything had been ransacked. There is no other word, God, for it. Thank you, God. But it had been ransacked, and everything was all over the place. They had literally sat in the car and eaten a box of our chocolates. They'd had the radio on. They had emptied every single bag. They'd gone through the pockets of the car. They'd looked through our documentation that has to stay in the car when you leave it. They'd gone through everything. And the funny thing was they couldn't find anything to take, because the only things we had left in the car were things of no value to anyone else. There was no tech. There was no jewellery. I don't wear jewellery anymore. There was no money, and especially probably what they were looking for. There was no drugs, of course, not even a packet of cigarettes, because we don't smoke. So, yeah, that was a good start. Part 2 will come up in a minute. I'll drop that now, and that can go away. So we've got violet, we've got rose pink, we've got cobalt blue, we've got lemon yellow, and we've got sap green. Okay, so that's where we're at now. Then I'm going to use a sheet of hot press paper today, because the one reason being that the pens that I'm going to use, all of these marker type things, always work better on smooth paper. So hot press is just smoother than cold press, and I think I'm going to give it a go on this one today. And I'm going to use a pencil, Faber-Castell 9000 series. This is a 2B, which means it's somewhat soft. Right, I think I've got everything. Oh, and brushes. I'll just talk about the brushes for a minute. Here I've got a selection. I always have a selection of brushes in front of me these days, because I never know quite what I'm going to want to feel like using. And I can recommend all of these. This is a Princeton Aqua Elite. This one happens to be a 12. This one is an 8. They are 2 years old now, and they're still rocking it. And that's, I don't know if that means anything, but I just said it. This is a draw well. These come from Japan, from my dear Mr. Miami, who keeps sending me presents. Yeah, he sent me another box of brushes the other day. He's a lovely chap. I've never met him. I wish I had, years ago. Anyway, so these are the 3 types of brush that they have, the 3 series. And if you're interested in purchasing any of them, they're very good value for money. And they come all the way from Japan, and they're made by hand by a craftsman who's done nothing but make brushes all his life, based in Tokyo. Moving on, let's draw our bird, shall we? When I'm doing a whimsical bird, I often start with the legs, because then you've got something to basically build your bird upon. So I tend to put the legs in, and I like my birds personally to have a little bit of reality, because a lot of people do birds that have got legs that are totally impossible for biological correctness. It's obviously up to you exactly what you do, and you can just make them look funky if you want to. There are days when the birds that I draw are much more realistic than others, and I don't really know why, but, you know, you just go with the flow, really. That's my motto, go with the flow. So if you want the sketch for this, if you don't feel confident enough to draw it yourself, which I totally understand, we'll put the sketch up for you. I'm not going to put any gubbins in the middle here, because that's all going to be filled in with colour, and so will the tail be. But the beak I've popped in there, and the eye will be centred around here. And whether you decide, in line with the point of his beak, whether you decide to do a tiny eye or a huge one is entirely up to you. They both work quite well. You can put all sorts of embellishments on this bird once you've drawn him. Right, so I've got my I had my eraser here, but I didn't need it because the bird came out okay. So I've got my water here. Somebody said that they were annoyed because they couldn't see the water. I couldn't see the light. I couldn't see the water. Let me see. How can I make that work? I need the green to be visible. It's difficult, you see. It's difficult. Really tricky. So let's put this here. And then can you see the water? You can, can't you? You can see the water. I think you can see the water. Right, so anyway, we came back and we found that the house sitters had not been doing their job properly. And I'm not going to go into details about that, but we were not happy with the fact that the chickens didn't have any food and they looked a bit poorly, and the grass hadn't been cut, and the cats had had their complete routine absolutely destroyed by people who didn't understand that you had to have routines with animals. And so the house absolutely reeked of cat pee because they'd been shut out of their, poor things, they'd been shut out of their place where we keep the litter tray. So at night they couldn't, and we've never, ever, that's too big, never, ever had a problem like that before. But so that's part 2 of experiences you don't want to have. Right, now, get back to the bird. I know some people have been saying, please tell us that everything was okay when you got back, and I'm going to do that. I've just dipped my brush in the water and I've put the water into the paint and I'm just softening it up, making it more runny, so it's in this kind of consistency. And I'm going to put a stroke, and this is the problem, you see. It's awkward. You have to be able to put your hand on the table, don't you? So I'm just putting pink paint in here. And I'm playing with it a little bit because I feel like fiddling today. Then what I do after I've done something like that, I just wipe the paint off on a cloth and then I rinse it in a jar of water, which is my rinsing jar, okay? Then I put that aside. I don't move it every time. I'm only moving it in and out of shot for the benefit of the viewers. And then I'm going to do the same thing, add some water to this little area here, then come into this and smoosh it around a bit. Let's put some yellow here. And I'm going to deliberately let the colours meet and bleed. I'll just soften that paint up again. The pigments are quite nice, and we get purple where they join, you see. Isn't that lovely? But they're nice and intense, and the pigments are clean. Yep, so that's pink and blue, and how about put a bit of purple? Do the same thing, bit of water in the well, and come down here with purple. The good thing was, while we were away, I didn't get sick. I think it's the first time I've ever flown anywhere and not got ill after arriving, so that's good. Excuse me. Let's go for, what colour haven't we used? Green. A little bit more water. Put him here. You'll notice a slight difference in the intensity of the different pigments actually when you use them, and that's all part and parcel because pigments do vary in their intensity. There's not much that can be done about it. Now, if I were to put purple here and let it bleed, I'd get a not particularly pleasant grey. And if I were to put red here, I'd get a not particularly pleasant brown. So the only colour I can really put here, right next to this one, is blue. So I'm going to put some blue, but I'm going to mix in some green. So I've got some turquoise, okay, which nicely blends with that, and it'll nicely blend with that as well. Okay, so we can, and you can do what you want. If you want, this is hot press paper, so it acts a bit differently from cold press. You can do what you want though. You can see what I mean. When you put 3 colours together, you get a brown, no matter what colour they are. So we'll do that. And I'm going to make some orange using some pink and some lemon yellow, and we get a kind of peachy orange colour, which is quite nice, and that will go okay with the green. That will just go a little bit greyish in places, which is quite nice. That's okay. We'll leave his eye blank like that. Now, when I did this back in June, I think it was June the 7th or thereabouts, 2022, I think it was. Hang on a second, let me look. No, 7th of June 2023. So this is 2 years ago. I did it then. I did it in kind of primary colours. But this time I decided I would do it a little bit more subtle. And what you can do, and I did demonstrate this in that video too, is you can lift out some of the colour just using what they call a thirsty brush, whereby you rinse your brush, you dry it off, and then it acts like a little mini vacuum cleaner. You see, you can just pick up the paint, you can hoover it up. And then that makes it a little bit lighter. And then you can come in with your, I'm going to put some more of this apricot colour in there, I think. Yeah. I'll pop that in and let that kind of blend a bit. So we can sort of get rid of that colour there, make that a bit different. It's all going to be covered up, isn't it, when you doodle on top of it. But the other thing, I think, I've just had an idea. I think I've got some gold handy. I wonder if this will activate. This has been sitting here for weeks, literally. I'm going to do, you probably saw me do this on cold press paper a little while ago. We did this and we got a nice effect, didn't we? Do you remember? This here. At the top, we got that effect. So I'm just activating this. I think this is the Schminker powder, gold powder. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. In fact, I'm absolutely certain it is. It's this stuff. Aqua Bronze. And it's powder inside, and you just take a little scoop of that. This is what I do with it. I mean, it has lots of uses. I just take a little scoop of it, put it in one of my little dishes, add a tiny drop of water, and then when it's about the right thickness, you can paint with it. And I'm just dropping it in on his back. And now, having done that, I'll just wash the brush off into there because I haven't mixed it with anything else. Having done that, I'm going to go to lunch and let that dry. And we'll come back and we'll see what we can do with that. Okay, so he's going to sit there and dry, and you won't even notice the passage of time because I'll be back before you know anything about it. Or before, within, what do I normally say? And I'll be back in 2 shakes of a lamb's tail. So I'll see you in a minute. Okay, so we've had lunch and we're back. Time to think about what we're going to embellish this with, and I'm going to do it a little bit differently from the one I did before. I've got some brush pens here, some watercolor brush pens. This is Poetique. I don't think you can get them in America at the moment. I think you can get them from Amazon.uk. But I'm going to do some bands of embellishment on here using these pens, just very, very light. You can hardly see it at first, but if you go over it a couple of times, you can see. You could do this, of course, just with a brush. But I think it looks quite nice if you do it with the watercolor brush pens, because they, no, I don't want grey, I want green. They're very subtle. It's very subtle. So we're just going to do some bands in different places on the bird's body, like that, and we'll do some narrower ones underneath, like that. I've got my little swatches of doodle ideas here, and that's what I use to remind me what a doodle is. If you haven't done a doodle for a bit, sometimes you can't remember how to do them, and that's my case anyway. I have a problem with that. I do other things too, that's the trouble, isn't it? So we've got that one, and then with the now I put gold on the top there. I don't know whether this is going to work on top. It'll be pretty subtle, but you never know. You never know. Okay, that's all right. And I think let me see. I think, what am I going to do on these nice bright tails, tail feathers? I think I'm going to go around the, I've got a new, a new pen. I was having a test here with a piece of, oh, here we are. One of these new. Please work. Please keep working. I've even chosen smooth paper. So we'll go around here like this. While I'm doing this, I'll tell you the next thing that happened. I had forgotten one thing. I'll just take a step back to before we arrived at the airport and found our car had been broken into. On the plane, we had a near miss with another plane. A larger jet came within 100 feet of our plane, flying diagonally across underneath us, which gave us all quite a fright, I must say. So that was good. So anyway, we got out of the airport, and we'd made a plan for that day that Magdi was had to go to the Egyptian consulate in Paris. We were at Orly, which is south of Paris. So he got an Uber and went into town, and me and Tamsin had to do all the packing up on our own and cleaning up the Airbnb while he was gone. So we did all of that, and he came back about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and by 5 o'clock we had set off to go home to Brittany. And as I said, when we got here, things weren't very good. The rather elderly house sitters that we had chosen had refused to contact us or refused to be in touch while we were away. So they hadn't asked for help, and whereas we could have advised them on things that were not going right, they didn't bother to ask. And that was a bit of a shame, really, because it left us with an extremely dirty house, smelling of cat, because they'd shut them out, as I said before, of their litter tray area, which is a great shame. Anyway, the day passed and they were leaving the next morning, and this terrible thing happened. Literally, the woman had her hand on the door to her car to leave, and she was suddenly struck with a massive pain in her head. And she came back into the house, tried to take some painkillers, but it was evident that that was not going to do the trick. And the next thing we knew, I was on the phone calling the ambulance, and after a certain amount of time, the ambulance came. I'm going to do the eye of the bird now. I'm just going to draw a nice round circle with my Fudenasuke pen and give the bird a nice expression on his face there. And anyway, she was taken to hospital by ambulance, air ambulance. An air ambulance came and landed in our field. We had to get the sheep out of the way, of course, and she was taken off to Brest. And that was basically all we know. We don't know what happened after that, except that she was said to have an incredibly serious brain bleed and was unlikely to survive. This was a terrible thing to experience for me because I'm a little bit what you could call hospital or illness phobic. And it was up to me to do all. I'm going to put a nice sprig of leaves in here. And I'm going to put another one here. Again, using the brush pen. I don't want to go into too much detail, but I'm sure you can imagine what it was like. And the next day I had a really bad migraine, and everything seems to have gone wrong. We've broken things ourselves. We've had things break down. Oh, I don't know. I won't go into any detail, but it has literally been a very, very difficult week in terms of ordinary things not running according to plan. There are some good things that have happened too. For example, we found a lady who's going to come and help us with the house and garden. And yeah, so it's not all bad. My husband had his operation while we were in Egypt, and that has gone well, and there's nothing malignant in his neck. He's still in quite a lot of pain from all his other ailments, but basically that was the main reason why we went, and that worked out quite well, so that's good. So I'm just putting in some shadowy leaves on the bird like this. I'm trying to combine a couple of ideas that we had before and make that work. I don't know how it's going to turn out exactly in the end. Let me see, we could put, up here we could put some circles. The gold, we have to be patient with the pen on the gold. There we are. So that's that really. About our week of difficulties. I think there were other things as well. I can't remember off the top of my head. Let's put another pink one in here. But the worst thing was Dee coming down with this dreadful stroke. Very, very, very awful to experience. For all of us, as well as obviously mostly her, but still. She was in a tremendous amount of pain. Hey ho. It's frightening. The bird's coming out okay though. I'm going to give him shall I give him a pink beak? And let's stand him on some ground. I'm not going to bother about changing the colour of the ground or anything like that. Just go around the eye there with a little bit of shadow. This one's called Purple Grey, and it gives you a nice little shadow. And we could, I think, if I get my little gold pen, we can sort of link these leaves with the gold up here by just giving them golden veins. I know we've missed a couple of videos, but we should be getting back to normal soon. We might, I'm not sure yet, we might end up having to drop down to 2 a week for a while we regroup. I'm sure you won't mind, and as you know very well, there are lots of older ones that many of you probably haven't watched yet, that you can catch up on. Okay, well, I'm not totally unhappy with that. I need to put, where's my fine line? I think I probably could just outline and I'm tossing up. I can't decide whether to do a kind of I think I might just, I tell you what I will do. I'll put some decorative hearts around the outside here. And maybe I'll give him a little kind of curl on her head. I think I quite like the way that's turned out, actually. I don't think I'm going to do anything else with that. So we'll just put some little hearts drifting up into the sky. I think I'm going to leave it like that. So look out for our next video. And I hope I haven't disturbed anybody by telling the story as briefly as I could, really, just to emphasize that there was a good reason why we weren't able to do what we would normally have done last week. And the daily, what do I call it? The Moments of May, we weren't able to do that on Thursday because I was basically confined to bed with a migraine. So I know you'll understand about that. I'll try to do the next one soon. So there we are. There's our little birdie. A nice little, I think she came out really nice with these colours being so subtle. And you wouldn't think, would you, from these bright blues and purples that you could get these subtle effects, but you can. So that set of 24 Meaden paints is pretty good, and you can achieve pretty much, you know, the bright colours like this one here and these subtle colours like these ones here. You can achieve all of that with the box of ordinary beginners and improvers paints from Meaden. So if you enjoyed this video, give us a like and subscribe. I hope you did enjoy it, despite the sort of bad news. Not exactly bad news, was it? But it was just a kind of, you have to unload this sometimes, don't you? And yeah, so we're all well, the animals are well, and the house hasn't fallen down. So yeah, sending you all love, and I hope to see you again soon, probably on Tuesday, next Tuesday. So I'll let you go. Have fun this weekend. See you all again soon. Bye for now. Bye-bye.